Hi friends, welcome to Rita's Paper Motif. I'm Rita, and today I wanted to share some card ideas using the stripes and dots, brand new stamp set, um, and so I want to share that with you. Before we get started quickly, I just wanted to share um, that I'm a independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. My name is Rita. I love to create card and scrapbook page designs as well as 3D projects. I like to share those with you in hopes that it will inspire you to create and then to share with those that matter to you. Now, this video is available here on the Facebook business page as well as YouTube. So if you're watching via Facebook, please consider following me here on this page. And if you're watching on YouTube, then please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. So I really do like this stamp set. I like that it offers some different designs. The stamps are fairly big. So what I liked about it is that this stamp right here, this one, not only is it stripes, but if you're journaling in your scrapbook, that could offer uh, alternative to, uh, journaling on just a blank piece of um, cardstock. So it could give you those lines to write on. I like the polka dots. I just have a thing for polka dots. I just really like them on my cards. So this is a nice stamp, and the width and the length are just perfect for me. And then of course there's this uh, staggered line that I think gives a lot of interest to the edging on your cards, on your card layers. So this is what we're going to use today. We're going to create a card. Before we do that, I do want to share one of the cards I already created. This is using the polka dot or the dot stamp, which is this one. And I just stamped that 2.5 times. So one stamp, two stamps in half. I obviously masked off all four sides so that I have a border on the card on the white layer. And I did use my Memento Tuxedo Black for the ink. And then I put this layer onto a piece of basic black cardstock that measures 4 by 5 1/4, and I took that piece of basic black and I put it in my mini corrugated embossing folder, ran it through my embossing machine, and it gives this great texture. So I'm hoping that you can see that texture here. And I used the um, the bow punch for the foliage and the little black blooms, and this is out of vellum, and then of course basic black, and then of course my beloved Spotlight on Nature dies. Those are my go-to circle dies, and so that's how I created the circles that the sentiment sits on. Now this sentiment, have joy, is definitely something that I created by masking off some of the stamps. So I took this sentiment from Sweet Blooms. I took the Have A. I took some household plastic tape or scotch tape, and I masked off the A, inked up the word have. And of course, you want to remove that masking tape, right? And then I stamped the word have. And then I took Let Joy, and I did the same thing. I masked off Let and stamped Joy. And that's how I got that sentiment. Now, excuse me there. This ribbon is, I've had it for a long time. I think it's at least 5 6 years old. I got it to create a wedding album, and so this is a little bit of what was left over. It's kind of a thicker or denser ribbon, and it's very fibrous, which really gives a lot of texture to this bow. And then of course I used the uh, in color flat pearls, and this is the in color for 2025 to 2027, and I use these a lot. So this is my second pack. Um, just because they really are bright and I like that sheen that you get on the pearls. Okay, so I just wanted to share this card with you. Let's go ahead and create a card. Now I am going to tell you that I started this video before and got interrupted. So some of this I already have done, and like the insert for the card base, but I will tell you the measurements. So this is 8.5, and this was 11 inches that I cut in half at 5.5, and then I scored at 4.25, and I simply took my bone folder and folded it over. This is a piece of basic white that measures 4 by 5 1/4, and normally I would go ahead and stamp my inside sentiment before I adhered it on, but I'm not sure who I'm going to send this to, so I'm going to kind of wait because I don't always put a message inside my card. Sometimes it's just a personal note, so it really does depend on who I'm sending it to. So, but I will say as a rule, it's a good idea to stamp your insert first, and then if you don't like that stamp, you can flip it over before you insert it. All right, so let's move on with this card. I'll put this to the side. I took a piece of basic white that measures 3 3/4 by 5, and I ran that through my embossing machine inside my eyelet embossing folder because I wanted texture on this. And using these stamps, they're flat, and I don't always feel like you get that feeling of dimension there. So it is good to create that in another form, in my opinion. So I did do that, and then I am going to show you how I got my stripes. So normally when I'm scrapbooking, of course now I'm not going to have one, but normally when I'm scrapbooking, I have these strips that I cut off my basic whites because they lay on a different color of a base. So you will take those leftover pieces, and they're great for stamping what we're going to stamp. So here's a smaller version. I've already used some of it, but this is kind of what I would start out with. So then I would take this stamp, and we're going to start out with, let's start out with Strawberry Slush. These are the colors that I'm going to stamp my stripes in. So Timid Tiger, Strawberry Slush, and I'm using Daffodil Delight, but you could definitely use Timid Tiger. Let's use the Strawberry Slush, and I'm going to take my ink to my stamp. It's just how I like to do these longer stamps, and I'm just going to ink it up. And now I've already done these, but I wanted to show you how I did this. And so then I just will stamp it on these strips. So it's a good way to use up my scraps, right? And then I just will stamp it down. And while the ink is absorbing, oops, I just touched that pad. While the ink is absorbing, then I'll go ahead and put that ink pad away and definitely clean up my finger there. And then when we remove it, you see that we have that beautiful stamp, right? Well, this is going to be too wide because I would need 3 of them. So what I normally will do is take my trimmer and trim that down. For today, I'm going to use my scissors. And then I just like to trim the sides too. I like to give it about 1/8 of an inch of a border. And I'll trim the top here too. I trimmed the bottom. And I'll just do this because I have, like I said, I have 3 of them, and they have to fit on this panel or layer. So, oh, that's pretty straight. Surprising. I usually can't cut too straight. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and layer them we'll layer this one. I have the other 2 already done. We'll layer this on our embossed panel, and I'm going to use liquid glue because this is very textured, and I'll need the adhesive to go in all those little crevices. So let's just go ahead and do this. Now I'm looking at this side, both, all three sides to lay this down. Okay, I know my fingers were in the way there. Okay, so I have one side. Then I'm going to take my Timid Tiger and I'm going to adhere it on this side. So let's go ahead and get some glue on this. I'm going to just measure it because it doesn't look like I cut that bottom part very good. And I will say that once you put your adhesive on this and you put it on that embossed layer, it is probably not going to want to pull it up. So better to get it right. All right, so there we go with that. And now we're going to put in our Daffodil Delight. And I need some adhesive here. And now we can line this up better because we've got the other two already on there. There we go. And then we're going to put this on the front of our card. And again, I'm doing that 3 sides to try and line this up. Well, let's see here. I want to get it straight. There we go. Okay, so then I knew it needed a somewhere for the sentiment to live. And so what I wanted to do was take a circle, use my Spotlight on Nature circle dies. They are my go-to die. And so I have a larger one and a smaller one. We're going to stamp on our message or our sentiment on here. I'm going to be using my Memento Black, Tuxedo Black, and I'm just going to ink it up. Okay, get some good inking on there. And then I'm going to stamp that hello. You could put any sentiment you want on there. I'm going to put hello because I just need some general cards. And so I'm going to go ahead and stamp it here. And then I want to think about what I want to do because even though we have that embossed layer, I kind of feel like I need some texture or something. So I'm thinking about that. I'm going to go ahead and adhere this to that larger circle just so I don't have a lot of pieces laying around. That's probably way too much glue there. Let's see. So I was thinking I wanted something underneath. Now here I put some foliage. I don't know. I also want to see the stripes as well. So then I thought, well, ribbon. And then I thought, no, I don't want ribbon. That's kind of too much already. So I looked in my twine jar and I have this twine. This actually comes in a 3-pack. It's on the last chance list. So if you'd like this, go ahead and get it. And this is why I used the Daffodil Delight because this is not our darling duckling. So I have this twine and I have some very old twine that is kind of variegated white and yellow. So I can use that too. I just think I'm going to use this white. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap it around my fingers a couple of times and then I'm going to cut it, of course. And now on the back of this, because we're going to use dimensionals to adhere it to our card, I'm going to find those dimensionals, and I am so glad you can't see my whole desk here because it's a mess. So I'm going to take one of the dimensionals and I'm going to put it in the middle, and then I'm going to take my twine and I'm going to just start like right here in the middle. So I want to push it down, and then I'm just going to loop it, and I'm going to be looping it on this circle, which helps me to control how much it sticks out, right? How much of a loop I have. And we'll just keep doing that till I use up all of this twine that I cut. And now we can hope that the dimensional keeps that, but I would rather be sure. So I'm going to take a piece of my tear and tape. This is almost gone, but I just need a little bit. And I'm just going to put it across there so that my twine will sit. And then I'm going to go ahead and finish with the dimensionals. And we'll just put them on all sides here. I am going to lift, I'm going to lift this up. And I'm going to lift this up. And let's see, we are going to want this to be the top. So I can kind of set my twine on there. And I'm not going to take the release paper off of that tear and tape. I don't need to. I'm just going to go ahead and put my sentiment where I want it now. And there I have this card. And then we can definitely bling it up a little and decorate it. So I did cut these out. I wanted to show you that. I cut these out of, or I cut them using the Pretty Florals stamp set. So what I did first is I stamped this so that it looks like this, and it's solid. And I stamped this in the Daffodil Delight. And then I took these and tapped them into, and that's what these look like, tapped them into the Timid Tiger and stamped on top of the yellow stamps. And then I took this die. I'm hoping I get the right one. There's two of them, and one is smaller than the other. So let's see. Then I took this die, and they were, you know, in a row, so it was easy to just die cut them that way. And then I also used this die for the foliage. So you have a lot of dies in this Pretty Floral stamp set, and it just really helps with that foliage and those pretty little blooms. So I am going to just like arrange them here somewhere. So I do want I'm going to put this like this, so some of it's going to be on the circle, but some of it's not. And so I'm going to use a dimensional so that I have that dimension here. Whoa, that is way too much. Let me take some of that glue off. This is how I take it off. The glue and I are not best friends, and it's my fault because I just get heavy-handed with that glue. And then I'll have that sticking up so it has some dimension. And I'm thinking about where I want this. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on this foliage. Sorry, I know I was out of camera range. Sorry about that. And I'm just going to stick it under there. And now I have two more little blooms, and I can put them wherever I want. So I think I'm going to, actually I'm going to cut my dimensional in half because they're very tiny. And I do want them to sit a little bit. I know you can't see me, but you know what it means when I say I cut it in half. So I'm just going to put a half of a dimensional on that side and another half of a dimensional on this side. Okay, and so I'm going to take the release paper, and you can put a dab of glue if you need to. And see, I put that dimensional on the wrong side. You could put some adhesive on the back here if you wanted to, but I don't really think I'm going to need to. So I'll just put that dimensional, and we'll put this dimensional as well. And so they're not sitting on the circle, but they have that dimension, so you know, they're pretty stuck. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to cut up some of this because I don't, that's too much either way, I think. Well, maybe not. Maybe not, but I am going to cut it. And so we'll go ahead and adhere that because this foliage is sticking to the base right underneath that circle, so it does need a little bit of glue. And I'm not going to put a dimensional on there because I don't want that sticking up. And I will take a pick tool to make sure that I'm adhering it down there. So now we have a little bit of green. We could put some more if we wanted to. Definitely could put some more if we wanted to. Let's see if we want to. Yeah, I think so. So let's just put a little bit of greenery right here. And I like to use my take a pick tool to make sure that they're actually touching the layer. And then we'll come in and use some of our pearls. So we could really use any color we want. Yeah, any color we want. I like that strawberry slush because we're using a lot. We have a lot of yellow, and that Timid Tiger really sticks out. So let's just use some of this strawberry slush. I'm going to put one here. And y'all know that I like to use odd numbers, so I'm just going to put those right like that. Now, you know, when you make your card, you can decorate with as many of the adhesive dots or pearls as you want. You can decorate it any way you want, but I want to just show you how I used this strip stamp. Now, I also want to show you a couple more cards that I made. So I'm going to move that to this side. I made this card using that Secret Sea. It's a new in color. And I used a different one of those striped stamps. I used this one. And I just created a border. So I did some masking so that, you know, this is longer than the width of this panel. So I did mask it off. And I masked it a little more because I didn't want the lines that come down to intersect these lines. So I just masked it. And I put them on all corners. And then because it doesn't really have any dimension, I wanted something that was going to bring some dimension to the card. So I die cut the word lovely, and now these dies come from the Sweet Blooms. So you have the word lovely that you can die cut, and then you have the shadow, and so that's what I did. Lovely is die cut from some Secret Sea, and then it's onto a die cut of white. And so that I put right in there in the middle because it's a pretty big stamp. And then, you know, you see I have a, so have a is this stamp right here, and then lovely, and then day. So here's the day stamp. So I just put those, I stamped them on some white with some Secret Sea ink, and then just put them on some banners just to give it a little more interest. And then I used the white uh, twine, and these are the Secret Sea jewels or pearls um, that are in this pack. Now, when you look at these pearls, I just want to draw your attention to it. You can kind of see the Secret Sea outline, but when I look at them, they're not exactly the same color as this, but somehow they work. So it's an optic illusion maybe, or maybe my eyes are not as good as I think. Anyway, yeah, I made this card, and then I made another card similar to the one that we just made. I used a different kind of uh, die cut where my sentiment would live, and those are the everyday arch dies. And this is where the word hello comes from. And then you see this ribbon. Well, this ribbon is really this ribbon. So it's our 1/4 of an inch white ribbon. But what I did is I cut some, and then I took my strawberry slush. I'm not going to do it now because I don't want to waste the ribbon. And I just held it on the ink, and I took my bone folder and I just pulled my ribbon through the ink. And what it does is it dyes the ribbon. I did turn it over though, so I could get it a little more solid. And it isn't like totally um, strawberry slush, but it just gives it kind of that, it gives it that color, and it gives it a little bit of interest too. And so I just dyed my ribbon that way. So when you have white ribbon in your inventory and you don't have the color of ribbon that you want, then know that you can definitely change that color. Then it works. So there's that card. So let's pull all of the cards in now so we can take a look. Here's the one we created today, and then this one too. So I wanted to just give you some ideas for using this stripes and dots stamp set, and I'd love to see what ideas you come up with. So please share them when you create if you create your cards using this stamp set. So thank you so much for joining me today, and you all have a very great weekend. Bye now.